I am not exaggerating when I say Red 1 might be one of the worst and dumbest Christmas movies ever made, so here's my full spoiler-free thoughts on the best and worst parts of the movie. If you don't know, this movie basically follows J.K. Simmons as Santa getting kidnapped, which forces The Rock and Chris Evans' character to team up and go track him down. And oh no, they run into like the Witch of Christmas and Krampus and everything else that is just incredibly stupid. Let's just get right into the review. The good is absolutely nothing about this movie. I literally don't think I really enjoyed a second of this film, which gets me right into the bat, which is the entire cast of this movie. Not that the cast and the actors themselves are bad. I think a lot of these are all actually super charismatic actors that have a bunch of great movies, or at least fun movies. But you can just tell that absolutely nobody wants to be in this movie. They do not care whatsoever. All of the characters are just so dull, lifeless, and just uninteresting. They have almost no personalities. And the lack of personality also just applies to this movie as a whole. This is just one of those incredibly generic action movies that everybody's seen 100 times on Netflix. It literally feels like this could be Red Notice. Basically, the only change is that they took the second word and made it one instead of notice, and they put in Kieran Shipkin and Chris Evans instead of Gal Gadot and Ryan Reynolds. And boom, you just put a Christmas filter over it and call it a day. Like, this is the most Netflix feeling not Netflix movie I've ever seen in my life in a derogatory way. The thing is, when a movie has a concept as incredibly stupid as the kidnapping of Santa Claus, you would at least hope that it's entertainingly funny and just ridiculous, but it really is not funny in any way, shape, or form. First of all, pretty much every joke in this movie is either just Chris Evans or The Rock dropping some slick one-liner that they hope just sounds so badass, but it just sounds super stupid. I think this movie actually could have worked if it was almost more of a satire on the entire action Christmas movie subgenre, just making fun of how ridiculous it is, and it kind of gets into that a little bit with Dwayne The Rock Johnson, and like the agency he works for is literally called the ELF, which is ELF obviously. And instead of making smart jokes or having an actual just ridiculous satire about the subject, it ends up just being Chris Evans laughing at the fact that Santa has security instead of actually doing anything else creative with it. Just like the most safe, fake, edgy humor that's trying to just be super sarcastic and dryly delivered, being too cool for school, and it doesn't work. The action sequences are also just incredibly dull. If you've seen the trailers, you know there's like these snowman just creatures that attack them. Again, just absolute nothingness. The entire final fight is just absolute CGI slop thrown in your face. And to match the incredibly dull humor and fight scenes, this movie also just looks pretty horrible visually. Every single scene, I'm pretty sure, is just filmed in front of a green screen with just the goofiest looking background in it. Some of these like fake cities look so terrible. And even like things that could easily be shot on a real location or with a real set are just obviously green screen. They just made this thing in some studio in Atlanta while preaching about Christmas magic. Speaking of the Christmas magic, I think this movie also thinks it's actually saying something about society, which is kind of insane with a movie like this. We're talking about the fact that more and more people are on the naughty list than ever, and that people of all ages need Santa Claus more than ever before, and oh my god, who could even care? I guess I will say I kind of enjoy J.K. Simmons as Santa Claus if I had to point to one redeeming quality in the movie, but as I said, and as you know, the entire concept of the movie is that he gets kidnapped, so he's not even in a good portion of it. I don't want to be dramatic, but this is basically everything wrong with Hollywood. It's CGI slop that looks terrible. They throw a bunch of big name actors into a movie that have no chemistry and just hope people will go and see it because they're like, oh, I like The Rock or I like Chris Evans. They spend hundreds of millions of dollars making this movie that should have honestly been made for something like $20 million, use some practical sets, and again, just lean into the goofiness angle. But no, hundreds of millions to make this, 100 millions more to advertise it. And then it's going to flop at the box office and they're going to be like, oh, nobody wants original movies. We got to make more sequels. But the thing is, we just want original movies that aren't as incredibly stupid as this. I will say this movie will serve as perfect background noise while you're folding laundry if it comes out on Netflix in like a month during the Christmas holidays. Other than that, I'd stay away from this one.